Hi, everybody. David Paul with you, KHOU 11 Chief Meteorologist here in Houston, Texas, with Wednesday evening's tropical update for the Atlantic Basin. And today's a special day. It's meteorological fall. It begins on September the 1st. What is meteorological fall? It's based on the temperature transition from summer to winter. And so meteorologists include that transition in the months of September, beginning September 1st and lasting through the end of November. And then we go into meteorological winter, the coldest months of the year, December, January, February in the northern hemisphere. As opposed to astronomical fall, which you may be familiar with. Fall by the tilts of the Earth, the way it's oriented to the sun, begins on September the 22nd this year with the autumnal equinox, the day the planet gets equal amounts of daylight and nighttime in both the northern and southern hemisphere. And then it ends on December 21st with the winter solstice, the shortest day of the year in the northern hemisphere. The Earth is tilted, the northern hemisphere tilted furthest away from the sun at that point. Shortest day of the year, longest nighttime in the northern hemisphere will be on December 21st. That will be astronomical fall as opposed to meteorological fall. And it has always interested me that the peak of storm season in the Atlantic Basin is in meteorological fall, not in summer, but in meteorological fall, as the temperature transition is beginning to develop. That officially occurs on September the 11th. So, fall is beginning to feel its influence across the northern hemisphere. We're looking down on planet Earth. That's the North Pole. Let's see, Hudson Bay. But I take this orientation because there's your jet stream. There's a northern branch of the jet as it circumvents the northern hemisphere. And notice it's getting more active, and see all of the troughs, the dips and ridges in it. As we get into fall, the northern branch of the jet stream in the northern hemisphere becomes much more energized, and you get these troughs developing that become more amplified and more amplified. And these are the ones that when you get a big trough dipping into the United States, that allows cold air to come in. It can trigger thunderstorms, it can trigger tornadic outbreaks. It can still also produce ridges, which is producing a heat wave across the middle part of the country right now. But as we go out in time, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, we go deeper into meteorological fall, we begin to see more and more of these well-organized and now highly amplified troughs forecast as we head out toward the first couple of weeks of September. So indeed, we are heading into fall. And this has significant ramifications as to the tracks of these tropical systems that form, especially in the open Atlantic. They are often caught up in these fall troughs and pulled to the north, almost like a blocker in football, blocking, protecting the east coast of the United States from these storms that form out in the Atlantic Ocean as we get into the month of September and October in particular. More amplified upper level troughs often turn Atlantic storms to the north. And that, I think, is exactly what's going to happen with Larry out here. We'll get to that one in just a moment. First of all, to the heat. Heat advisory for Texas, Dallas, it stays hot, but more importantly, New Orleans, where they're still completely out of power. New Orleans, home, so many of the communities hard hit by Ida. They won't have power perhaps for a month, and it is miserable here, and it's dangerously hot. Highs mid-80s to mid-90s, depending on who gets a thunderstorm. With it feeling like 104 to 108 with the heat index in there. That's when you put the humidity on top of the temperature. The more humid it is, it just won't allow the sweat on your body to evaporate. That evaporation, that evaporative process is what takes heat off your body and cools your body. So when the humidity is high, you got that heat index 108. It just means the moisture on the surface of your skin just takes longer to evaporate. And so the cooling process that your body tries to do by sweating becomes much less efficient, and it becomes just much more difficult to live. Across the nation, a couple more indications of fall. And believe it or not, Hurricane Nora being pulled into the desert Southwest. So this was a hurricane, the remnants of a hurricane in the Pacific last week, but it's brought tremendous amounts of rain, scatter showers across the four corners, Utah into Colorado, mountains of New Mexico, Arizona. You know Lake Mead and Lake Powell are seriously low. They need the rain out here. They've been in significant drought, so that is helping, and that is quite often what happens as we begin to change seasons. Sometimes these storms come out of the Pacific and provide much needed rain for the desert, and that's what's been happening the past couple of days. Then, of course, Ida came out of the Gulf of Mexico, lifted north by a trough as it came around a ridge, now being lifted north by a trough and producing significant rain across the northeast, which we'll get to in just a moment. But before I leave the idea of meteorological fall, look what's happening on the first day of meteorological fall. Spokane, Washington, the chimney of Idaho. First frost advisories I've seen so far as we're ending summer and moving into the first couple of days of meteorological fall. So a sign that cooler weather is coming. And in fact, I found this. They had snow flurries today, dusting of snow in the higher elevations near Banff, up here in portions of Canada. There's Calgary, Alberta. They had some scattered showers, but that's chilly air coming in. That's what's leading to the frost advisories across parts of the far regions of the northwestern United States. Now, Ida, remnants of, continue to push in through Pennsylvania into northern New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts. Heavy rain continues. Not only that, they've got tornado watches, and I've seen several tornado warnings in this region today. The red, flash flood warnings, flash flood advisories. The green, you've got the yellow, that's a tornado watch. This is all in effect overnight tonight across the Northeast, New Jersey, New York, up into Connecticut. Boston's going to get heavy rain tonight as well. How much? Likely 2 to 4 inches in the heavier amounts, which doesn't sound like a whole lot, but remember, this ground is so saturated from Henri, which brought y'all serious rain a couple of weeks ago. So the flash flooding threat remains widespread, and if you can just stay off the roads and stay home for one more night tonight, the conditions will improve markedly as we head into the end of the week, going into Thursday and Friday. This won't last forever. Here we are going into Wednesday evening, overnight, and then Thursday by noon, the low pressure is still associated with what was Ida is off the coast of Maine, rain moving into Halifax, getting a chance to dry out Jersey, Pennsylvania, New York, Boston, D.C., the Virginias, where they had significant flash flooding in many places. So that's good news. That's pulling on out of here. You do get a chance to dry out. Friday, just a sprinkle perhaps in Boston. There's what's left of Ida moving up toward Halifax and eventually up towards St. John's, getting some rain and some wind. And then all eyes will be turning to what's going on in the Atlantic. So this is going into this coming Sunday, and that is Larry. And Larry, GFS, Euro both do this, just intensify this thing to at least Category 3 major hurricane status going into the coming weekend. I've written in here potentially Category 3, nearing Bermuda. See that little speck right there? That's you, Bermuda. So you may fall into the influence of an approaching Hurricane Larry. Remains to be seen. You may fall under a significant influence from Larry, Bermuda, so we're watching you. But remember, we talked about these troughs coming in. So where is Larry going to go from here? Most likely, it is going to get caught up in this next approaching meteorological fall trough. There's Larry. This is Wednesday, September the 8th, and if this is the GFS. If it does verify, we're going to get Larry caught up in that trough, picks it up, and not only avoids a direct hit for Bermuda, but then races this off into the North Atlantic as we head into the 9th and the 10th, and that will be the end of it. That's a significant trough. In fact, that's actually negatively tilted, so that will race the storm up to the north and east and into the Atlantic, and that should be the end of it as that trough, the season of troughs, begins to influence the track of these tropical systems. So what is Larry doing on this Wednesday evening? Larry's a tropical storm. Winds at 70 miles an hour, so it's just a little bit below Cat 1 hurricane force right now. Got to get above 74 to get to Cat 1. Pressure's at 911 millibars. It's racing to the west at 22 miles an hour. And here's the official forecast track from the Hurricane Center on Larry. Goes Cat 1 Friday, goes Cat 2 as we head into Saturday, Cat 3 going into Saturday afternoon, Sunday and Monday, Cat 3 hurricane. Again, just to set your bearings, there's Bermuda, east coast of the U.S., and this doesn't go out quite as far as that run of the GFS did, but that's the general idea, that this is going to get pulled northward by that trough and not be a threat to the east coast or the Gulf of Mexico. Sometimes these things can make these very deep runs into the Caribbean, and that's really the only way one gets into the Caribbean this time of the year. Either it gets on a very low ball trajectory or it is born in the Caribbean Sea. And in fact, we have a spot in the Caribbean Sea that we are watching. This spot has a 30% chance for development. I say it's a spot, and it is a spot right here, but we'll be watching it. We'll see if it can get its act together as it moves into the western and northwest Caribbean and southern Gulf, possibly 30% chance over the next 5 days. Next name on the list is Mindy. If it were to develop into a tropical storm and get a name, Mindy's the next on the list. And a closer look at this reveals on the infrared satellite that we did have some, almost like a little vortex come in and try to spin up a little tropical system, a little tropical low in the southwest Caribbean today. However, you can see how close it is to land. There's Nicaragua, there's Honduras, and it looks like what there is of this is going to bump into land pretty quickly. Here's the enhanced infrared, some deep convection just off the coast. We look at the Euro. This is a European model, and you can see it has closed off a tiny little curlicue of a low. But watch what happens as it moves right on in over land, at least according to the Euro. It moves over land, and that's the end of it. These things have got to be over water to get their energy and become tropical depressions, tropical storms. Now, if that low were to move a little further north, stayed over water, maybe it could develop. Computer models are not perfect, but that's what the Euro and other global models are suggesting, that this goes inland and becomes a rainmaker for Central America and becomes a rainmaker for Mexico. And that being said, this is forecast to generally bring a slug of deep tropical moisture into the southern and western Gulf of Mexico. That much moisture in the Gulf this time of the year, sea surface temperatures 83, 84, 85. It's something we'll watch for potential development. That's why that zone of possible development at 30% extended into the southern Gulf of Mexico. But at the moment, the Euro, other models are not suggesting we're going to get any type of explosive development here as we head into next Wednesday, the 8th of September. But obviously, it's something we watch carefully. Models are not perfect, and we track these things moment to moment this time of the year. That's where we stand right now Wednesday evening. You got questions, comments, hit me up on social. We'll see you on Thursday for another update.